was thinking about sort of my whole life as a gamer. I think I've only really ever bought like one bad video game, or maybe one or two.
Overblood.
But I know that for what's that? You remembered exactly where I was going with that. Yeah, exactly. Okay,
Woo.
so and you guys notoriously, I mean, you and Matt notoriously teased me about this, but PlayStation game called Overblood, which, I mean, how would you describe that game?
A lemon.
Yes.
It
basically starred a character who had no genitals.
None.
And he was in love with a robot named Peepo.
Peepo.
When the robot died, he screamed, "No, Peepo!"
Which it didn't die because it was a robot, and he could have easily repaired it if he had the know-how. So really, it was a cry for his own ignorance.
Something
that's
like that.
That's how I saw it. That's how I read into it.
There you go. When I was in the store, I just sort of impulse bought this game because I looked at the back of it and it said, it's like Resident Evil in space.
Yeah, well, what the appeal was that it was fully 3D. And Resident Evil was, 3D guys on a two-dimensional background. So you were kind of like, ooh, technology enhancing. I can show it to my friends and they will enjoy it too. I remember one bad game I bought was not Cop Killer.
Well, that was a bad game.
That was a bad game.
Didn't sell well.
Crime Killers. Mm-hmm. You remember it? It ran at 60 frames a second. Once again, the graphics made me buy it, and bad impulse buys were a bad idea back then.
Exactly. So we've got these bad games, but I mean, essentially, I think for the most part we've done well, and it's because of going to video game magazines, video game websites, and trusting reviews.
Yep.
So I think highly of reviews, and there's been a situation lately that has sort of brought reviews into question. The firing of Jeff Gerstmann from GameSpot,
Poor old Jeff.
I mean, for anybody who doesn't know, I mean, essentially, GameSpot is probably the largest website on the internet for covering games, and I think that for us, we started gravitating toward that site when they started doing more and more of their audio and video content.
Yeah, definitely. The video stuff
podcasting,
was a big,
all of those things. It kind of brought their editors to the forefront. Like, you actually saw the people behind the mic, you saw the people writing the reviews, and you kind of got to know them like internet celebrities almost.
Yeah, they were like my friends for the summer, like
Pretty
nobody
much.
else is around. I'll see what Jeff is up to. What's Alex Navarro saying?
You get to know people like that, and it's sort of like, I know you mentioned with like James Kim dying recently from CNET that it felt like it was like a blow because you feel like you know these geeks,
I know
these people online.
Yeah,
but
Jeff Gerstmann.
Yeah, Jeff Gerstmann fired from GameSpot. He was basically the sort of the face of GameSpot because of being so heavily featured, and so his firing essentially leaves this giant hole in GameSpot. And so, with such a large hole, the obvious question comes up is why?
Yeah.
What exactly is it that got Jeff fired? And right now, it's sort of illegal to get a straight answer because GameSpot cannot talk about it, and Jeff cannot talk about it contractually.
Yeah, thus adding to the conspiracy theory that it's something insidious. I mean, because this guy, Jeff wasn't just, some editor, he just wasn't some reviewer. He was, editor and chief. He was the guy in charge after Greg Kasavin left. It was Jeff's show, basically. I mean, anytime somebody would leave, who's the guy who hosted live?
Rich Gallup, you mean?
Yeah, when Rich Gallup left, Jeff was there to take his place. He's always been the guy to fill his shoes, or to fill anybody's shoes who stepped out. It's like, what is GameSpot going to be without him? It's almost as if somebody came down from on high and caused Steve Jobs to leave Apple.
Sure.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, and it means a lot. I know me and you really trust GameSpot, but it's one of those things where, Jeff was a very cynical guy, and I think part of the reason why we trusted GameSpot and we shied away from sites like IGN, I remember when we sort of quit going to IGN, was because we felt like there wasn't an honesty there that there was at GameSpot. And Jeff being cynical, it could sometimes seem like it was too much, But at the same time, it made me trust his reviews more because I knew I wasn't going to get just an advertisement.
Yeah, absolutely.
But that's what makes this so weird, is because the allegations are. I mean, the internet is a swarm right now of rumors about this, but the allegation is that it had to do with advertising pressure. Basically, IDOS, who is the makers of Kane and Lynch, were upset at Jeff's low score for their game and supposedly pressured management of GameSpot into firing him. But I don't buy that. I think GameSpot was asked to change some of the content of his review to please the advertisers, and he just wouldn't do that because I know that Jeff's not that kind of person.
Right.
So maybe that's the reason he was let go. There is new management at GameSpot. It's the guy, a guy from Maxim magazine, actually.
What?
And maybe, that's
the
new boss at GameSpot.
Not the Maxim. That's the game that gave Sudeki like 5 stars. Sudeki being the terrible first RPG for the Xbox. Man, I bought that thing. And I was like, well, Maxim gave it 5 stars. I was like, Maxim is a girly magazine, you know?
Right.
It's about, like, women in weird poses and alluring looks on their faces. It's not about video games. And I don't get how does this guy all of a sudden walk in? I mean, granted, I really don't know his background, but sure. I don't like any associations with that magazine as far as it goes to gaming.
Yeah, it's caused a lot of people to think. Yeah, it's a strange thing, but it's caused people to think maybe that's why he was kicked out. So it raises the issue, and that's why I wanted to talk to you about this. Is it raises the issue, which has been lately on the internet, has been an issue in general that's been being discussed on major blogs and podcasts. Is, are game reviews broken in some way? There's been discussion about the gaming scores themselves, the number system. Is that outdated? The fact that they play on deadlines, is that possibly skewing the review? The fact that they are paid, the fact that they are advertiser supported. Mm-hmm. Do these things, corrupt reviews? So to let you talk, because I know I've been talking for a while here,
it's okay.
I just kind of wanted to open up the question to you. Do you think game reviews are broken? And if so, how would they be fixed? I just wanted to get your opinion on that.
Wow. I mean, yeah, it is kind of weird that all this stuff came to a head with Jeff Gerstmann being fired. Penny Arcade has been talking about this stuff plenty before, and it almost seemed like this crescendo that led to this inevitable kind of end. It's weird because I'm starting to not like reviews.
Really?
Well, sort of.
What do you mean?
I bought 2 Impulse buys recently. That is Rock Band and Mass Effect.
Right.
And I remember whenever I was buying them, I did get that little notion of, well, what if these games aren't that good? What if they're another Crime Killers or another Overblood? I mean, when that happens to you once, you're like on reviews for another 2 years. You're like, I will never leave reviews again.
Exactly.
But I actually intentionally, after I bought the games, decided, you know what, I don't want to know what the reviews are. I told you this. You once blurted out, it got an 8.0. And I'm like, I don't want to know what the review number was. Because I wanted to determine what I thought of it by myself.
Right.
Here's what I think. Yeah, the problem is with numbers that it's a vertical thing. Mm-hmm. Here's a game. This one is 8.
Right.
And here's a game. This one is 9. Clearly, 9 is better than 8. But that's not necessarily true. I mean, Madden gets 9s, and I can't stand football games.
Right.
Because there's this whole kind of, if you will, horizontal element to what the game is about, what the content of the game is, that really is, it causes it to be different from person to person, whether or not it's enjoyable. So, I decided, you know what, forget about grading things, forget about saying, oh, this is superior or not. It's just, am I having fun, is the question that comes up. Mass Effect, I'm having so much fun playing it. Because in part, I'm allowing myself not to be jaded going into it.
Right.
I'm just kind of going, you know what? I am, Shepard, and I am going to meet these aliens and have this adventure, and it's going to be the best adventure of my life.
Right. And are you finding that you're enjoying it more because you didn't kind of read ahead of time?
Yeah. I mean, granted, Penny Arcade ran these comics about, like, nitpicking.
Right.
They talked about the elevators in the game, which are sort of used as a substitute for load screens in some scenarios.
Yeah, they had a lot of nitpicks with the game, but the game is still, as far as I understand from you, pretty enjoyable.
Yeah, after that, I mean, actually, I enjoyed it, and I got to those parts, and I was like, this isn't so bad. And if you're invested in it enough, you believe the elevator.
Right.
A game reviewer tends to take themselves out of the game and look at it look under the hood and say, okay, what's going on here? Right. And says, oh, this is a load screen. But if you didn't know that, and you just believe, I'm riding the elevator with my two alien friends, and we're talking about what's going on in a mining colony, and now that opens up a mission, it's cool, and it's actually, I think, a pretty clever idea rather than just having a load screen.
Yeah, so basically you're thinking that it might be a good idea for just to keep things fresh, to go into it without checking out reviews, or are you going to read reviews in moderation?
I only read a review whenever I have no clue now what the game is going to be. That's what I'd recommend.
Yeah.
If you go to the store and you see like Guilty Gear is out for the Wii,
right?
And I liked Guilty Gear, but I don't know how it plays on the Wii because things can get weird with that controller. So I said,
check out the reviews.
Yeah, check out the review and see what they say. And yeah, it got a pretty good score, and more importantly, they said that the controls were fine.
Yeah, I do trust reviews, and well, I'll say this: I do depend on them because and Jeff Gerstmann had said before he was fired that game reviews were purchasing advice. I mean, that's what they're really intended to be. I rely on a game review site to help me decide how not to waste my money. You know what I mean? Because it really sucks to buy Overblood, and to go home and be like, well, I got a game, and then be like, oh, shoot. Now, I mean, there's pleasant surprises, but for the most part, this is too much money for me to be spending to sort of leave it up to chance. So I do need to, at least do a little bit of research. I believe in being an educated consumer. But, when it comes to any game review website, it is useless, absolutely useless, if it can't be honest. It basically shouldn't exist if it can't be honest. If it's paid off by advertisers, it ceases to do me any good.
That's the real power, I feel, of podcasts.
Sure.
Because, you and I, we listen to many of the same podcasts, and what we both said we like about them is that they're not in a formula where they're trying to technically break down why a game is good.
Right.
They'll just say, oh my goodness, I had so much fun playing BioShock. Dude, did you see that scene where the guy came out with the electric ball? Oh my goodness. They're not like, well, the graphics notwithstanding, show off the Unreal 3 engine very well.
Exactly. And
like,
it's
what?
much more of you get the sense that it's honest, whether you agree or disagree, whether it's professional or not, you get the sense that it's at least real. And I think there's sort of like an outcry for that kind of thing today. And I think that a professional corporate game review website can be honest. I think GameSpot has been for a long time. But, I'm going to have to reevaluate it. I was talking to Jason, and we were both saying, he actually canceled his GameSpot membership.
Ouch.
We're both going to sort of take a step back and have to reevaluate GameSpot, because if these allegations are true, then I can't trust that site anymore. You know what I mean? Now, I'm not going to give up on it without knowing for sure, but, why did we abandon IGN? Why did we abandon some of these other sites and feel like they're corporate? There's just something iffy when a site isn't being honest and you feel like they may be selling you an ad. I run the other way,
Yeah.
And basically, my final thought here, check out your reviews. Check out your review site. Find out, are they being honest? Can they diss a game? I mean, that to me is like the core of it. For your hard-earned cash, nobody needs an advertisement, crammed in your face. So I would say the key is investigate it. Check out your sources. Make sure they're honest.
Yeah, my advice is the best reviews will come from your friends.
Okay.
The best reviews come from within your life. Just how is this game, relevant to me? Is it Ninja Turtles? I don't care if it plays like a copy of Prince of Persia. If it's Ninja Turtles and I love Ninja Turtles, it's going to be a 10 for me.
There you go.
Rely on your friends. If you do go with a reviewer, find a reviewer by name who you trust. I wouldn't say trust the reviews of an organization. Even GameSpot has its bad reviewers and it has its good reviewers, or I shouldn't say bad or good. I mean reviewers I agree with.
Right.
So find somebody who tends to agree with your choices.
Right.
And go with them. And I'd just like to say, Jeff Gerstmann, shine on.
Yes.
Hopefully now you can release that double platinum Midnight Brown CD that you've been working on, I know, in your free time. And now you can fully dedicate yourself to progressive white hip-hop.
That's it. So we will leave it at that.